Is it on? I hope we're on. What's happening, everybody? It's your favorite background noise generator. So, I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about some of the challenges that being a car guy brings to light for a lot of folks. And especially if you're a guy that is putting content out there, putting hopefully entertaining content, interesting content, whatever the case is. But what I primarily want to talk about is, well, the realities of what it can cost to try to put a project together, at least from the point of view of if you were to get the latest and greatest, whatever it may be, the contraption that catches your eye. So, in saying all of that, you got to start off with a vehicle. You got to start off with something because, well, without the something, you can't build anything, right? But I've been tacitly looking for something to build for the channel. And if I'm being perfectly honest, the Fox Body Mustang thing does not interest me whatsoever. For a lot of folks that have said I should do something with Foxy, I already own the car, and just the list goes on and on. I've got to tell you guys, man, for every dollar that I spend on that thing, it's going to have its hand out for another $1.50, and that's just Fox Body life in general. But I want to speak to that, and then I want to speak a little bit about the cost of these new cars and just how, well, let's just dive into it. So to build a project, what would you get? A new car or an old car? The old stuff, even for a cheap, if I wanted to build a truck, the Ram D150s, the V8 trucks, which is the one that you have to have because it has a separate cross member, and the D100, anyway, those things are obnoxiously expensive, and the trucks that you would actually want to buy are easily well within the $20,000 range for, again, a vehicle that is solid and sound enough to actually drive. One where you're not going to have to replace brake lines like I had to do with Sierra, which I'm surprised I'm still alive to tell the story of that. But the more to the point of this is, what do you build? Well, I'd love to build a Dart, but they're extremely expensive. Novas, which used to be disposable vehicles, I remember that like it was yesterday, are now going for obnoxious money. Good luck finding an RT Aspen, although I may have found one. And if it's the one that I'm hoping, if it's the color, I should say, that I'm hoping that it is, it might actually be brown. And if it's brown, a Malaise era Aspen with a 360 would be sweet. But anyway, you get the idea here. The cost of these things is just far and away obnoxious. And it puts a build of a classic car so far in the unobtainium place because, well, first of all, the car has got to be able to get down the highway safely and, well, reliably at between 85 and 100 miles per hour. Listen, I don't know where y'all live. That's how we roll down here. And I'll be real honest with you. Cruising speed for most of any of us down here is around 85 miles per hour. If the car can't cruise at that number comfortably, reasonably quietly, where it's not rattling your head off, that's what it's got to be able to do. So overdrive transmissions are mandatory where I live. Build you a hot rod, do a Hemi swap with a Nag 1 with a Holley controller and that Aspen, oh, that would be sick. Drive Shaft Shop would put together a drive shaft and it'd be a mid to low 12-second car just playing around because it's fairly light for what it is. But that would still not be a cheap endeavor. The car itself would probably still cost $5,000 to $7,000, assuming that it would actually be worth buying. Just the general safety updates on that vehicle is going to cost you another $3,000 to $4,000. That puts you at around, call it what you will, call it 10 grand just to get the vehicle alone. Everything else that would be included with it, that's going to be for the swap, for the mounts, and the whatever else it might be, that's another 10 grand, let's be honest. And so now you're into this thing for about 20, maybe even $25,000, and that is at a bare minimum. And that's a car that doesn't have good brakes. It'll get down the road just fine, but from a safety standpoint, it's going to be sketch level midnight. Plus, finding parts for it in general, going to be kind of tough. So there's that. But what about a new car? Well, this is where things get a little bit depressing, if I'm being honest. And I mean real depressing. So you can't buy a new Challenger anymore, and since the pricing for the Hurricane 6 powered Challengers hasn't been released yet, we're only left to speculate. But I can promise you that walking around numbers so far as we can tell are checking in at around $60,000. Now that is a lot of money. 60,000 whole ass dollar bills is, for many people, far too much to even ask to spend. We're not talking about the HO variants either. We're just talking about the standard output. HO variants look to be somewhere in the $80,000 range. So I don't know what that does for you. I mean, that's a lot of money for a car that is, well, it's going to absolutely depreciate at an astonishing rate. There's not going to be anything romantic about the Hurricane 6 the way that there is for the Hellcat. The Hurricane 6 doesn't harken back to anything. That's why it scares me to death, the prospect, because I know some of you guys are going, look, just get a Hurricane 6 car and work with the piggybacks and see what you can get out of it. But I was talking to my buddy Matt over at Moe's Performance, and I was asking him about his experience with his Hurricane 6 truck. My experience was god awful, and I was finally able to, chat on the phone for a little bit with him. And strangely enough, he hasn't had any issues. He had it just a few weeks at this stage of the game, but the reality is that the truck, in his case, runs pretty good. And I would love for us to be able to line them up, or at least be able to compare numbers once the weather cools off and he's got more seat time, although I think he's got his truck pretty well figured out. Mine's super easy. So, we'll be able to compare numbers once we get to that point. But I guess where I'm going with this is that's the sexiest thing about that engine right now, is that it's in a pick-em-up truck, or a family hauler / Uber Black type vehicle in the Grand Wagoneer, or at least in the Wagoneer. You get the idea, though. This car is going to depreciate quickly, and it's already checking in at an obnoxiously high number, whereas a Hellcat variant, blown Hemi. This thing's got at least some racing pedigree that goes back almost 70 years. So how does that play into all of this? You have Hemi, which has racing pedigree and all. You've got the Hurricane, doesn't really have anything, and it really almost doesn't matter how fast that car is. But anyway, it's $60-something thousand. Let me get to the point here. So I decided I was going to do a build your own on a Mustang. And what I always end up building is the 301 Plus package. That's $57,000. $57,000. Again, you can't buy a Hemi Challenger unless you find one on a lot, but they're a lot. Camaros don't exist either. But I didn't stop there. What about the Supra? That's $52,000. But here's the car that actually broke my heart, and it's one of the reasons why I wanted to put this video out there. The Z car, the Nissan Z. That's the car that broke my heart. The base model at $42,000, the Sport at $53,000, and the Nismo at $65,000. Are you flipping kidding me? The Z car, that is not supposed to be that expensive. That car is supposed to be whatever that number is minus $10,000 or $15,000. It's supposed to be a low price alternative to the Mustang. It's supposed to get me in the door. Now, I hadn't driven one yet, but 400 horsepower and 350 pound-feet of torque, that's not going to get it done. I'm sorry, it just doesn't work like that. But it's about as close as you're going to get to what that new Challenger is going to run like. And if you go out and fetch yourself a Nismo variant, 420 horse and 380 torque, that's in essence what the SO Charger Challenger two-door, it's going to be hard for me to get two-door anything and not call it a Challenger. But that's kind of my point. If you want to know what that car is going to run like, look no further than the performance specs for the Nismo Z car. It's got a 9-speed automatic, true, but it'll get you at least in the ballpark, and actually it'll put you on the field in terms of actual power and performance, provided that the Dodge doesn't show up way overweight. Kind of a scary proposition there. But with some weight reduction, it looks like the Hurricane 6 trucks might actually be able to pull off a 12-second quarter-mile time. And if that's the case, for a full-size, and I mean a man-size, grown folks full-size truck, to be able to even run low 13s, like a 13.0 or a 13 teen, even better if you can get a 12-second anything out of it, is going to be impressive. But I got to tell you, it's depressing as hell. Because if you're a car guy and you're looking at the landscape of what's out there, it's dwindling quickly. And unfortunately, we're getting a little bit too close to that 2030 year, I should say model year, to not have an internal combustion variant of that two-door Charger in the lineup yet. And so that's, I guess, the big issue for me. If I were to buy something specifically for the channel and do a build of some kind, I'm really kind of stuck, and I'm kind of screwed. If I want to put something together that's old school, I'm going to have to do a full-on restoration, for lack of a better way to look at it, at least in terms of cooling system, braking system, safety portion of it. In other words, bushings, handling, suspension, the whole bit. That gets real expensive real quick, and then add to that the repower, and yeah, it starts to not be as appetizing as what you might think. It's not so romantic, I'll put it to you that way. And even if you already own the car the way that I do with Foxy, the problem there is that it's a known entity. And yeah, I like Fox body Mustangs a lot, but man, I got to tell you, to sink thousands upon thousands of dollars into that car would be, I don't know that it's something that I really want to entertain. I would rather have something different, but the something different that I'd rather have, I don't know. It doesn't outweigh the desire to just not do anything old school, if that makes any sense. In other words, I'd rather not do anything old school than spend the money on even the cars that I would love to do, just because I know the headaches that can come from it, because I've already kind of been there and done that. Now I've smelled to them too. But I guess away from that, the only other thing is, again, buying new. And buying new is, yeah, you get all the bells and whistles, and it does everything it does everything that you could hope for a new vehicle to do perfectly, but the costs are just astronomical. And I think a lot of car guys are starting to look at this and go, look, for a lot of folks are looking at this and thinking, I'm done. This hobby, this lifestyle, we just can't afford it anymore. And that's what sucks the most, is to have a passion for something and at the end of the day know that you got to live vicariously through other folks, because the cost of entry, the cover charge is just far too high. So in saying all of that, what would be some lesser expensive alternatives? I tell you what. Um, so my Smoking Hot and I were at the grocery store the other day. And I don't know whose car this was, but somebody had an F-body WS6 Trans Am on welds. And I saw that car and I looked at Smoking Hot and I said, you know what? You might just be looking at my next project. Um, because it's not a Corvette and it's still LS powered. It's super easy. It's a known quantity, a 6-speed car, not an automatic car. And, maybe just build a, 550 or 600 horse stroker LS platform and just be done with it. Just build it, be done with it, drive it, and be happy. And that's kind of at the place where I'm at now. Is just I would rather do something like that. If I could find a Mopar that would fit that build, that would be swell. But unfortunately, the only car like that that would fit the bill that might come in at a decent price would be an early model SRT8 with a 6-speed. So, there's some cool cars that are out there that I always end up forgetting about too. But I'm always concerned the most when I'm talking about doing an older build with parts and parts availability. There is a got that Dart that's here in town. I don't even know if the guy is selling it. There's a Dart here in town that I would not mind doing a build on, but again, it's got to be a cruiser. It's got to be able to get down the highway, and building another drag car. I'm sorry, guys. If I did anything along those lines, old school sedan, I will say this. I wowould probably build a Trans Am clone. If I were to get that Dart, it'd be a TA clone, and it would be a Tremec 6-speed, backing up a 408 stroker, W2 heads, with one of my cams and I don't know, RPM air gap, and just call it good. Brent, thank you very much. Saying that's a great point. The cost of the stuff is nuts. If you live up here in the north like I do, it's even worse because you can't drive it all year for sure, and you got to worry about corrosion up there far more than you have to down here, which super sucks. But I mean, I get it. It's tough, but that's another thing, right? Okay, so check this out. Older cars. How do I put this? Older cars at this stage of the game that are unibody cars, like Novas, Darts, A-body cars, really fall into this. Cars with subframes, Corvettes, even though they're body on frame, also fall into this. You got to be Mustangs fall into this. You got to be so careful, so careful with what you buy, because they are at an age now where a lot of them have been patched back together. They are not safe to drive. You've got cars that are just a Bondo barge. And so again, yeah, this is why pickup trucks are so attractive to me when it comes to doing an older build, is because you can literally crawl underneath it and poke the frame. Like, you can tell if the frame is good. Everything's easier to get to. If there's a bed panel that you want to replace, you just replace it. And as long as even the bed, the cab corners, you can replace that kind of stuff. I mean, well, body shops can replace it. I can technically do it, but it would look like somebody that wasn't very good at it did it. But that's stuff that can be replaced. The car stuff, you've got so many areas for rust to hide, and I'm sorry, but there's some unscrupulous people out there that have kind of ruined me buying a car for a project. I am not opposed to walking around a project vehicle with magnets. And I'll put it like this. You go to Mecum, and if somebody tells you they don't want you going around that car with a magnet, they don't want you to do it because they don't want it to scratch the paint. But the reality is that a lot of times it won't stick. There's so much Bondo. Some guys will even mix in, I think it was iron flakes or something like that with that stuff at one point, trying to get away with that. You'd be surprised what people will try to do. Skids, just any of the trucks are just they're astronomical. I know a guy that I could get a good deal on some of those trucks from, and even then, you got to paper up. But let me catch up with you guys. Brent is in. Hard Rock is in. Noev, what's up, man? Oh, X, yeah. If you didn't, SRT8, yeah, 2002 WS6. That's exactly what this was. Real pretty champagne color. I'm telling you, tugging at some heartstrings right there for me with that car. Eric is in. Good evening, Professor B. As far as new car goes, I'd be a dark horse. $66,000 on that. And you know what? I bring up a good point. At $60-something thousand, I mentioned the Z car. The dark horse looks like a freaking steal, right? I mean, look at the difference in power, and it's already a done. Why would you buy the Nismo? It wouldn't make any sense. And that car just breaks my. It should not be that expensive, but here's where we're at. Brent saying the new stuff's way overpriced for sure. Skids get E and B. Got the bald guy with the shades and the flex in the right cadence. I like it. Right, the price of insurance is crazy as well. The price of insurance is another reason why it's another. So yeah, it is ridiculous. In insurance at that level, you really are just throwing money in the trash can. You're not going to have. It's never going to be a situation where, $150 or $200 a month to insure something to just sit there and collect dust. Yeah, that's a real problem for me. Like about as big of a problem as you can get. One of the reasons why I got rid of the Hellcat. Hardrock saying, my newer Scat is expensive to insure, drive every day, and finance. To me, it's worth it, but to others that I know, it wouldn't be worth it. Yeah, for some, it is worth it. There's nothing wrong with spending that money. Listen, I love it too. The F-150 I've got, same thing. It's expensive. It drinks gas, but I tell you what, it's a blast, and I love driving the thing. But when it comes to a project, that's where things get weird. And insurance is nuts. Yeah, Rome's in. What's up? Siren checking in. Hey, what's up, folks? What's up? Marvelous. Thank you very much. Appreciate the kind words. So, sorry, if the Charger EV is selling upwards to triple-digit numbers, then we're all screwed, because that means that ain't nobody gonna buy one at all, and it means that the only saving grace for Dodge will be the Hurricane 6 cars. They should have come out first, because the Hurricane 6 cars, my boys, I'm pretty sure it would have sold okay. I am not that car's biggest fan from an aesthetic point of view, but I've also never seen it up close or in person. But damn, that C-pillar though, for real, right? Anyway, and look, I've got a thing for fender gaps with cars, right? And there's like a refund gap that's going on. That's a fake titty joke, by the way, but there's a refund gap that's like this freaking wide on that front wheel to the arch of the fender, in that wheel well. God, how do you screw that up? How does that get messed up? How do you end up with offset, weird looking, gasser looking stance out of that car? Nobody else would notice that but me. I get it. I'm nitpicking, whatever. But once you see something like that, bro, you can't unsee it. I look at that thing and I'm just confused from a stylistic point of view. It makes no sense. It didn't have to be that wrong. But yet here we are. So, and again, the kind of money that they're asking for this vehicle, and let's say they do get somehow or another a wild hair up their ass and try to ask six figures for that whatever high performance EV, if it's even going to be called high performance, the Scat Pack variant, which doesn't even top the charts. Then what? Now you're left with the prospect, if you're into EVs, of buying the Dodge, when you can get a Plaid, which is literally the gold bearing standard for EV performance. I don't care what a Lucid Air runs. Yeah, okay, it's 2 or 3 or 4 tenths quicker than a Plaid. Doesn't matter, because you can buy 2 Plaids in a used economy car for what you can pick up a Lucid Sapphire for. So the pricing of that doesn't matter. But if this is where they're going, if this is where they're going in terms of price, in terms of performance, sorry, mate, it's not going to win that argument. And again, why, Dodge, why would you put your most expensive prospect out there? What is it? Is it like just, if you build it, they will come? Look, this isn't a glory hole at the truck stop. This is real business, and people are really into this. This is not a thing that you can do and just wing it. You've got to actually have a car that people are going to buy before you put your dirty laundry out for public consumption with this EV. Because EVs are not getting the best publicity right now from anywhere, whether it's e-bikes catching on fire, insert Tesla or whatever vehicle catching on fire. And I'm still shocked that EVs are not using lithium ferrous batteries. The LiFePO, the lithium, it's lithium ferrous, lithium iron phosphate, LiFePO4. Why they're not using those cells? Well, because you don't get the range or the power out of them. Yeah, well, you also don't get the spontaneous and violent and rapid thermal decomposition out of those things either. So anyway, that's my little soapbox there for a hot second. Hang on just a second. Brent, thank you again, buddy. Saying would not pay $100,000 for that EV junk. On top of that, most of the new stuff all looks the same and it's not built like the older stuff. And you're exactly right. Listen, Smoking Hot will not allow an EV to pull into our driveway. All right, that's where she's at with EVs. I am not quite as anti-EV as she is. But listen, okay, I have to go back to what my dad had told me when EVs burst into flames at the track and what they were instructed to do. They had a separate driver's meeting for EV guys. And that is, if you smoke a speed controller, if you smoke a battery or whatever, if you smell whatever smoke, or you are directed off the track, they will direct you to the outside of the track. You get the car off the track, you get out of the car, and you get as far away from it as possible. And then everything shuts down at the track and that car burns to the ground. And I mean to the ground. It takes hours for those things to finally cool off. And when I mean cool off, I mean the fire to quit burning. And it is, the way that the batteries work is when they go into thermal decomposition, one of the gases that's released is hydrogen. And along with a whole lot of other very caustic and not very healthy for you to breathe chemicals. And because the hydrogen is part of what is given off, that means that fire is self-fueling. In other words, throwing water at it will do absolutely no good. Even cooling it off, cooling it down, trying to bring its total thermal output down, ain't gonna help it. Those things will burn literally underwater. All right, so yeah, no, it doesn't work like that with EVs. But anyway, that's the card they want to put out there for you guys for the public to consume, as opposed to good old-fashioned gasoline burning contraption. Oh, and here's the other thing. This is another bit of a beef that I have with the Charger, and you guys already may know where I'm going with this. It's not flex fuel. which means it doesn't come from the factory being able to burn E85. That why do they make a car? Why do they make an engine that has that much specific that much cylinder pressure? Because you're making that much power. Let's say with the standard output, 400 horsepower, actually 420 horsepower, 470 pound-feet of torque. But it's the horsepower that we're worried about here. 420 horsepower on a 3-liter. Let me put this into perspective. Most 3-liter turbos that are like in crossovers make 300 horsepower, 320 at the most. 280 is kind of your pivot number. This thing is making 33% more power, and it doesn't have to run on corn. It has a higher specific output than the Demon does. Think about that for a minute. Anyway, something to consider when you're talking about those vehicles. Let me get back with you. And again, Brent, thank you very much, man. I appreciate it. I don't want to blast past too many of you guys. So I just saw some, I don't know where somebody was talking about tree ants, and I was just like, what? Now let me figure out where I'm at here. I'm just going to pick something at random here. I don't know where I was just a minute ago. Oh, wait, here we go. Here we go. Bear with me. Rome is in. What's up? All right, here we go. I think I'm close enough. Is Stellantis high? What the hell are they smoking? I don't know. It's just saying, good day. Ryan said, oh, archery season started. Nice. Saying nothing for me yet. Yep. I had an uncle that was big into bow hunting. It's been 90 plus every day in Texas. Feels weird to hunt deer in this. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you shouldn't need a cooler to keep your beer cool in the stand. Deer meat is good stuff. Deer meat's the best stuff. Oh, Skids, previous Gen 370 wasn't the Nismo in the 40s. I think it was. I think it was like a $44,000 car, and people were pissed that it was 44 because of what you could get for that kind of money back then. Sovereign. Yeah, that's some nightmare fuel right there. Using a swing set for the skin. The driveway. Skids, I worked in the meat department at a grocery store in my teens. I would help the guys process in their backyards. Yeah, there was a meat market in the town that I grew up in that everybody took their deer to. You guys hanging out. Let's see. Have my WK1 Jeep SRT. I like the SRT8s, the early ones. Sovereign said he passed a 71 Challenger. What's funny is that down here, there's actually quite a few. Just Challengers in general, the older ones. So I learned how to stitch myself cutting wood. We had butterflies and super glue. We raised catfish. So, and how to remove hooks, because invariably you'd catch one. And it's always push down and loop around. If you ever get a hook in you, don't freak out and don't push it through. Hooks are actually designed, if you push down on the hook and push the barb into the meat of whatever it's in and then roll it back. If you push down on the thumb with your thumb like this and kind of roll it back, if you're like right-handed and it goes into your arm, it's actually not that big of a deal. It's been a hot minute since that's happened to me, but I remember having to dig hooks out of myself and my cousin when we were kids. Excuse me, I like the idea of a late 70s F100 with a Coyote swap. That would be a good one. There's a guy here that literally is right there that does dent sides and bump side Ford F-150s. Ryan said we live too far from town. Oh, yeah. Oh, 60s GTO? Yeah. Fox bodies are like crack. You say you'll never own another one, then you want another one. Okay, so let me tell you what kind of dope fiend I am when it comes to Fox bodies. I have had my SSP, which was a true honest-to-God XDPS car. I had my 88 notchback automatic car, which I should have never sold that car. I was an idiot for getting rid of that car. Let's see. I've got Foxy, and those are my three that I personally owned. But of Mustangs in general, I have forgotten the Mustangs. I've like several of them. Like I'll start thinking about what have I owned the most? It's Mustangs. And the reason why I've had so many Mustangs, I used to use them as work cars because they got good gas mileage. They were durable as hell. And they're all SN95 cars. They're durable as hell, got good gas mileage. They're fast. They're fun to drive. And it just made sense. And I would put 40,000 miles a year on a vehicle. So I needed something with like cop car durability. And so Mustangs are what it was. And that's what I used. Used a bunch of different Mustangs. Yeah, the old step size. He's got one over there. Oh, cutting trees for firewood. Yep, we used to have to harvest the logs. Saying those look awful. It's why they might still be on the cheaper side. Hey, Skids, how about this? Do you remember the flare sides from the early 90s? Those are actually making a pretty big comeback. And we've got probably, I wouldn't say half a dozen, but we've got at least 4 or 5 that are running around down here already. The giant, that's where it came from, the giant black tree ants. Yeah. Yeah. Skids. Yeah, the GMs were better looking, but right now, if you want to do a build, Ford's actually not a bad way to go. Sofa's in here, yeah, with the Jeep. Yeah, I love the Jeeps, man. Oh, 58 Chevy. There was a couple of long bed step sides running around here at one point. Yep. It's good saying a used Stang, Chally, or even a Camaro. We'll call them modern classics. It's about the only affordable muscle cars. Yeah. You know what cars getting popular down here are New Edge Mustangs. I'm starting to see them more and more. It's almost like the New Edge Mustang is the new Fox body, and they're a lot better car in a lot of different ways. I like the New Edge cars quite a bit. And again, Brent, thank you. GM step sides are nice. Oh man, $2,000 for that truck back then? Yeah, that would have been a lot talking about that step side. Oh, Skid, 6870 step side. Dude, all of those trucks are stupid expensive. And yeah, Sophie, good rig on the SRT, man. Skids hanging out with Sovereign. Ooh, 71K5. Fun fact, when I was a kid, I thought that I had an inside line on one of those. It was a 6-cylinder truck. I don't know if it was or wasn't, but it was lined up. It was set up like like an old forestry rig. But I wanted that thing so bad, but my God, that thing was so slow it couldn't get out of its own way. Oh yeah, all of the Blazers are freaking stupid right now. Weston saying 30 grand is the new 20. Man, you might want to bump that up another 5 or 10, bro. I'm telling you. Oh, and the price of the trucks, dude, it ain't like it's going down. And now cat's eye Chevys are starting to become popular. Good stuff. Oh, cook the yeah, with the lead additive. In the older cars, a lot of folks don't realize that they did not have hardened valve seats. And so the tetraethyl lead, the lead that was in leaded gasoline wasn't just as an octane modifier, it was also there to soften the valves in the cylinder heads. Eric is in. What is up, Eric? Hope things are going well for you, my friend. See, Sovereign's hanging out with Eric. Very cool. Let's see. Oh, X saying C5 is a solid choice too. Used to own one. I had one. I had a, what was it, an '04 Z06. And I liked that car a lot, but it was ergonomically just, I could never ever get comfortable in that car. Whereas a C6 fit me like a glove, but the C5, man, I would have kept that. I'd still have that car to this day if it just wasn't so uncomfortable. Eric's saying they're having major quality issues in the new EV cars. Listen, I don't doubt it. I really don't. There's so much about that. Well, they were having electrical problems, and that's like the one thing you don't want to have if you're building an electric car. Oh, Brent, thank you very much. Said my father-in-law just got a Wagoneer with the HO in it from work. 100 grand, yes, on the sticker. Yep, has a lot of motor noise at idle. Was not impressed at all. So this is something that okay, so Matt over at Moe's and I were talking about this specifically. And I don't really want to talk about numbers, mainly because but there is somebody that he knows that we were talking about his truck with the HO in it, and it's fast. It's legit fast. But I'm starting to wonder, and I even asked him this, if he had heard of anything, and it's still a little bit early to form an opinion, but as it pertains to the just the Hurricane 6 in general, are there duds? Like, can I ask that question and not sound like a moron? The reason why I ask that is he's had really good results with his Hurricane pickup truck. Buddy of mine went and test drove one. Said it absolutely ran its ass off compared to his Hemi that he owns. But the one that I drove was a total dog, and I was bummed out. I was, you know what's funny about that is that it wasn't so much that I don't want to say bummed out, because that's not necessarily, I was almost offended by how poorly that truck ran. I had such high hopes. My expectations were at least for it to feel better in general. But it didn't. And really, it wasn't the turbo lag. It was how it felt just driving the thing down the highway, tipping into the throttle. And man, unless you were just in this thing, like the throttle aggressively, it did not want to move. And so I was asking, you're around these guys. I mean, this is what you do, right? I mean, have you heard of duds like that? And again, it's still too early. He said, no, I haven't heard of anything like that. But I mean, I'm the only one, and I'm going, of course I would be the only one. It's just, it'd be my luck. It's my luck that I drove a Wagoneer that I swear to you, that truck, if it's rated at 510, it felt like it was 650. That the Wagoneer that I drove was super strong. And that's what had me all worked up and lathered up over the prospect of a standard output in a pickup truck that weighs 1,000 pounds less than the Wagoneer. Well, it didn't work out like that, did it? So anyway, one of those, just kind of one of those things, I guess. But Brent, thank you very much. Yeah, and oh, to your point, man, the Grand Wagoneer that I drove, stickered at $108,000. It had every bell and whistle that I could think of. It was not the extra long version. It was the short, the regular size. And that thing was fast. But I'm guessing maybe the one that you rode or drove in, or rode in or drove, maybe that was a dud. And I'm almost wondering if that's what's up with these engines. You have to run premium in them. At least 89 octane, although in talking with Matt, there's apparently not a huge difference in total performance as far as the numbers are concerned between the two fuels. But anecdotally, I've been told that in reality, you do need to run the better gas. But again, I don't know, and my experience is limited, and I would like to be proven wrong, and I'd love to line the trucks up. And to be honest, I would want the Ram to be faster than the Coyote. I really, really would, because it's advertised to have significantly more torque, basically 20% more torque. And as far as horsepower, it's got, on paper anyway, 5% more power horsepower wise and 20% more torque, and all of it happens way earlier than the Coyote, with the main difference there being that I promise you the Coyote is going to mile an hour it on the big end. That's just what they do. My fastest mile an hour with my quickest time is a solid 3 mile an hour faster than his. But that means nothing if you're racing in a quarter mile. It's whoever gets to that end of the line, that line faster, and it doesn't matter if you're doing 100 or 150. If you get there quicker at 100, then you win the race. That's all there is to it. So, but I think it'd be a fun race. It'd be a great opportunity to see for real what the difference is between the two vehicles. But I will say this. Again, I don't know, is offended the right word? Is disappointed? Is disoffended? The disoffended would mean that I'm not offended anymore. I don't know what the right word is, but it's in there somewhere, I'm sure. And I would like the opportunity to drive one with good fuel, or at least drive one that I know isn't a dud, and then confirm or dispel whatever my pre-existing thoughts were on that vehicle. Oh, Hard Rock, I missed my Super Duty with a Triton V10. That's a good engine. The flare side, so much better than a 78 step side. 78 step side is real boxy. Let's see. Resto Mod 70 Challenger. Hard Rock, yeah, Mustang had the 5.0 HO with a 5-speed. 94, yep. 95 is the last year for the Windsor. Yeah, K5s are real nice. Brent saying he wants a 94 98 GT. The one to get, 98 is good. That's still SN 95. 99 starts New Edge, and that's where you get the PI heads. That's really, once you start 99 and up, they actually run really good up there. But I would, and they're tough to find. I would love to find a GTS. That there are very few Mustangs that I would say, yes, I would buy one right now. If I could find another GTS, which is to say roll-up windows, cloth interior, no spoiler, base of the base model, SN 95s, I would be a player on that car. I had one, And like a dumbass, well, not a dumbass. I actually traded it in on a pickup truck for work. I needed a work truck. But I should have just bought the work truck and kept that GTS. So, yes, that sucks. But I would like to find another, and they're really hard to find. Eric said, I think the Coyote F-150, yep, it is the way to go. They put a blower on it and they're crazy fast, or just tune it and they're crazy fast. Ooh, 71 K5. Nice. All right, yeah, for resto builds, the C10 is an excellent truck. Parts are available, man. The good thing about a C10 is you can build one out of a parts catalog. But holy mackerel, just to get a busted up old C10 is tough to do. Hey, Brent said he's got a 99 35th anniversary. Very cool car. Oh, talking about, yeah, it probably did. Yeah, it did have a low gear on that one for the K5. Summer saying, just give me the big block. The only downside to a big block is cooling. Skids, I know, I don't get the cat's eye thing, but it's a real thing. You can probably, you know what's funny is that their Aztecs have started going up in value. And I promise you this, if I had storage capacity to do it, I would find a mint condition Aztec and pick it up. People make fun of the Aztec. It's so ugly, it's awesome to me. I like those things. Oh, Eric's hanging out with Sovereign. Well, Sovereign, the problem with the EcoBoost 4-cylinder is not that you're revving it, it's that it has to stay in boost just to make it. I had a rental car. God, this is going back a number of years, but I had a rental car that was whatever baby shoe looking car that it was, but it had the EcoBoost in it. And I remember talking to my dad, like, man, this thing runs good. I said, only one problem with it. It gets horrible gas mileage. And he just started laughing. He goes, well, they're gonna get shitty gas mileage if you keep running the piss out of it. I said, well, yeah, but I mean, it's not that much harder than I'm driving it. I mean, it is the fastest car in the world considering it's a rental, right? Anyway, it was just kind of funny that car got such not very good fuel economy. Sovereign doesn't like the 4-cylinder EcoBoost. I don't really have a problem with the EcoBoost cars. The only issue that I have, I'll put it to you like this. I do have one little bit of beef with the EcoBoost Mustang. I would like to see them put effort into that platform and build an SVO. I think that because there's hardcore 4-cylinder turbo guys that are out there, and you can build a pretty fast one. Don't think you can't. But I would like to see them build one that would actually rev. That EcoBoost motor kind of signs off at 5,500 RPM. I know that you can tune them, and I know that there's stuff that you can do with them. I get all of that. But I would like to see Ford do something with that package. And maybe they are already, and I don't know. But Hard Rock, I love my 392. I know my local performance shop wants to go beast mode on my Challenger. Big goes plenty fast for me. And that's the thing. That's the beauty of the 392. And this, I put a video out a long time ago saying, look, the 392 really is the best engine that Dodge ever made, or that Mopar ever made, because you get real life 500 horsepower power, and everybody can get it, and it's not like some specialty one-off whatever, which it would have been like that back in the day. And for me, God, what we noticed with the 392 cars back in the day was that the more you tried to do with a 392 car, the worse it got. And one thing you got to remember too is The more you put into any naturally aspirated build, you get to these stages, and then it's just the law of diminishing returns takes over after that. And you will get to a point with any NA build. I don't care if it's Coyote, LS, Hemi, they're all the same. You just leave it stock if you're going to do anything to it. A tune by a reputable tuner, one that speaks the language of your vehicle. Just something like that, or just leave it alone, because at this stage of the game, these things are so good. I will put it to you this way: the Coyote platform, that operating system, it's weird how it almost basically tunes itself. I've tried throwing timing at that thing, and I've also tried numbing the hell out of the knock sensors just to see what it would do. It never mattered. That thing, no matter what I did to it or what I tried to command for it, it would find what timing that made the most power, and it would just stick there. So there's no reason to even fool with it. You can throw more timing. If you're going to do like an E85 tune, there are some things that you can do to really wake it up. But to me, that vehicle has to be versatile enough for me to just be able to get in and drive it like I am right now. And I can't really be I can't be beholden to a specific type of fuel. But again, the Coyotes do have that capability, and there are some things that you can do to make it to where it will throw the kitchen sink at it in terms of timing, and you can pick up some pretty decent power on E85. But gasoline, forget it. You're just not going to get there. And again, that's kind of the same way it is with any of the naturally aspirated combinations, whether it's Hemi, LS. Some come more or less neutered from the factory, and the Mopars are actually all really good. Some are saying 392 all the way. Oh yeah, Terminator saying 4.3 to 60 on the HO RAM in a YouTube video comparing it. Look it up. Yeah, so Sean with Hemi Fever has got one, and he's in the process of learning the truck, and he's only got, it doesn't have any miles on it, and that truck's legit fast. As a matter of fact, that is a mid 12-second truck. So just saying, it will. I'll put it to you like this: it'll give a TRX all it can deal with and then some. So that's legit. That's real talk right there. And you are correct. 4.3 is a real number with that truck. Arnold saying, I would like to transplant a 454 into a C10 truck. You don't have to transplant them. They actually made big block powered C10s. Buddy of mine's got 2 of them. And I was going to buy one. It's a red and I think it's red and beige. But yeah, he's actually got 2 of them. The thing is, though, is that they're very low compression. That is that's like a camper special type thing, where the extra power, it's so low in the rev range. It's not really even horsepower at that point, and it's just there to overcome wind resistance. Oh, Eric's hanging out with Sovereign. Oh, that's the one, your buddy that blew his up. Yeah. So brake stuff. Any experience with converting a Gen 3 Hemi to carburetor and distributor? Thinking of getting an old swept line D100 and going that route? Don't do it. It's not worth it. It sucks. You don't want to do that. The intake manifolds that are available are not very good. Mopar Performance used to have one. They may still make it. Don't. If you ever decide you want to do that, get the Terminator X program. Or Terminator X computer. The program that's in it is actually really good, and just go that route and buy because I was thinking about doing the same thing. I'd get a D150, unless you're talking about doing like a 60s D100. Get a V8 truck, but you may have to get I think they might make motor mounts for both of them though. Anyway, it's been a hot minute since I looked into that project, but that's the route that I would go. Leave it fuel injected. The problem with the Hemi is that the cylinder heads flow obnoxiously good, but that does you no good for port velocity. And so the carbureted versions have a nasty habit of just being kind of gross to drive around. But that's what I would do. Oh, hang on. Man, I screwed this all up. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Chevy SS sedan or G8 GT. Here's the funny thing. I just saw an SS yesterday, and yeah, so that would actually be a pretty cool car. It's a good looking car in person too. Eric's hanging out with Termy. Sarv's asking, hey B, how is a 72 Chevy Elko with a 350? Are those worth the damn? Yeah, as long as it's in one piece, they're good. Those, by the way, I'm a sucker for Elkos. I'm badly like it's a weird thing for me with El Caminos. My granddad had one. He had a 70 or 71. Anyway, it was a SS 350. They're great. They're awesome. I mean, it's a station wagon with the wagon part cut off. That's what an El Camino is. In fact, they all have the trap door storage compartment in the bed for the Elko, and for it's exactly where you would find it in the station wagon. So yeah, I love El Caminos. Siren saying, hey, Walter White drove an Aztec. I like them. It's just saying he won a set of Thrush mufflers. Very nice. I guess they do. Would they sound okay on the Scat Pack? Stock now and like, but no, I wouldn't put them on there. The stock stuff's actually better than the Thrush. They had an HO Eco Boom. Hires liking his Explorer ST. Good running car, by the way. Those things are way too fast for what they are. I love those things. I'm talking about the Explorer STs. Max asking, what about you think about the Ram RHO? It's the only. Here's the thing with the RHO. It's the only truck that you can get with the HO that is around $70,000. All the rest of those trim levels are $80,000. So yeah, if you want an HO, the least expensive way you can get it is the RHO, and it's basically, it's like a Rebel. If you wanted to like look at the trimmer from Ford, that's basically what it is, except it's making a substantial amount more power. It's like a baby TRX, but I say baby TRX, it's not that far behind it. T-Rex is like Papa Bear, and the RHO is kind of like Mama Bear, but they're both still killer trucks. All right, TRXs are 120 grand. That's the other side to that too. And Eric's checking in with Sovereign. So yeah, that's kind of the where I'm at with this. This stuff is just so expensive. I mean, well, we can end it with that. So look, the TRX, $100 and something thousand. You can't get into one for less than 110, is my understanding at this stage of the game. What? Are you kidding me? And the RHO is going to check in at 70, which, by the way, this is one of those things where I know that there's a word for this and I can't think of what it is, but it's one of those things where if you start something off that hurts a whole lot, and then you start doing something that just hurts less, it's like you're thankful for the pain that is less, not mad about the fact that you're going through the pain itself. That's what this feels like. It's like, oh, we could be charging you 100 grand for this thing, but it's 70. It's really funny in a way. You asked me about the RHO. To me, it almost seems like it's underpriced. I'll be real honest with you, because you would see Laramie's with the Hemi going for 70 grand, 66, 68 grand. It's just, it's all way the hell too damn expensive. And like my XLT stickered for what, 66, and they were throwing all kinds of rebates at that truck. In fact, if it weren't for the fact that I was so upside down just because I bought new on that Dodge that I bought, the Ram, I'd be sitting in really good shape on my F-150. But Brent, you're exactly right, man. I don't know how people afford them. I'm fortunate enough to where I'm in a position where, my trucks are work trucks. And so there's that, but I'm sorry to say, I cannot get past the sticker price. So if they always say it doesn't hurt to ask, right? You know that phrase, it doesn't hurt to ask. Yeah, it does. Because if a dealership is asking so much for a vehicle, but then says, well, we're going to rebate and discount and do this and do that to get the vehicle in a better position. Well, why don't you just start off there? Don't make me come in there and feel so crappy about myself. Like, damn, man, this is what a car costs these days. Man, that's brutal, And then, I saw where Hard Rock is saying better to go old school these days, but be ready to turn a wrench. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely that. But then if you were to find the right old school car, yeah, you'll be okay. But even then, it's a difficult proposition, and it's a labor of love. And I don't know that there's a lot of folks now that just they've kind of moved past it. They don't want to deal with the headaches, and the cars just are not what they used to be. So, it all just depends. Hard Rock saying the older engines are easy to work on. A lot of them are. Yeah. They all can't be LS. You know what I mean? And that's another thing. I mean, I got to looking at what would my next project be, and I would almost be dumb. Yeah. In fact, I'm always talking cars, motorcycles, stuff like that. I'm talking with another buddy of mine, and we were talking about, okay, well, what would I build if I was realistically going to do another build? And I started to, and I was looking at my bank account, and I was like, okay, I'm going to budget X amount of dollars over X amount of time, and that's going to be what I'm going to build. Guys, every single time I would look into doing this, it was an LS powered pickup truck. Every single time I started to waver away from that, reality kicked in and dragged me back. Even if it's a situation where I buy the truck, the engine and trans come out of the thing, trans gets upgraded, better converter, AFR heads, TBSS intake, long tube headers, a little shot of the giggle juice. By the time it's all said and done, you can buy a truck with 250,000 miles on it, strip the interior, clean it up, put everything back together. It's like freaking Legos, guys. There is nothing easier than an LS pickup truck to work on and make go really fast. And look, I know I'm all like kissy face with Coyote powered stuff right now. I know. I hear what I am saying too. But the fact of the matter is that when you've got a truck that you can just accidentally make, 450 or 500 horsepower with, it's just a lot of fun to drive. It's a real difficult proposition to move away from that type of a sled. So anyway, that's it for me, guys. Like I say, I'm going to catch up with you guys, and then I got to bounce. X with the built-in data collection. Yeah. All of my stuff in my truck, I have disabled every ounce of that I possibly could. They offer you, here's the jacked up thing. You want to talk about messed up. So they offer, if you have your reporter on, for lack of a better way of putting it, you get the app, your vehicle. You can see your vehicle on your app. All mine is shut off. And if you try to find my vehicle on the app, it won't show up. It's like you need to turn these features back on for us to be able to communicate with you through your phone and your truck, like the Wi-Fi and everything else. All that stuff's turned off because I'm right there with you on that though. But yeah, I turned mine off. And luckily you can do that. Oh, Eric. Yeah, this is something Eric hits on a really good point. This is something that I've been talking about for a long, long, long time. Why can't we have just a good old fashioned pickup truck and automobile? Why can't I just have something like my wife's Jeep? You roll the window up, you roll the window down, you turn the key in the ignition and it starts and you drive it. What the flip is wrong with that? Why do we have to have power this and that and everything else? I would rather have the option. Ford gives you that option in the pickup trucks, by the way, guys. Why can't I have that option for me? And that's another thing. If the pickup truck wasn't so daggum expensive, the Coyote trucks, I need a lot more space and a whole lot more money to do the stuff that I always wanted to do. I'd love to have one of each. I'd love to have a Hot Rod 2-wheel drive LS pickup truck and a Hot Rod all-wheel drive Ford with a supercharger. Yeah, I'm kind of like you, man. I'd rather have something super simple, super easy. KS saying car prices are out of control. Where's all the Hurricane fans at? Yeah, that's what I was saying last time. Priced out of the market, apparently. They're so expensive now. Yeah, a lot of the stuff is just not as easy. Break saying it's hard to beat an LS bang for the buck. I just don't think they sound good, and even dressed up, they don't look that special. No. Hard Rock saying F100 build 429. I would probably not do another Ford big block. I've had my Cobra was a Ford big block. I probably wouldn't do a 429 is not really. If I were to do a Ford big block, it would be another in a truck where I'd have a lot of real estate for a radiator. It would be an FE. It would be a 460 bored and stroked. It'd be probably a 5 1/4 cube displacement, roller converted, carbureted setup. And you can make an easy 600 horsepower with one of those and lots of torque. Sovereign's saying, give me a 69 bug. We have a lot of those here in this part of the woods. Brent, at the end of the day, no one cares what you drive. That's true. Hey, the view doesn't change. The windshield, the view out of the windshield, that don't change when you're stuck in traffic. That's exactly right. Hard Rock saying, I hate power windows. And yeah, Sovereign, I'm the same way. I use my phone. Oh, yeah. The auto mandate for future vehicles. Yeah, I'd seen that. Because you're trying to tax the actual miles driven. Yep. Forget that noise. But guys, with that, I do have to wrap it up because I got to wake up with the Amish in the morning. Golly, that's tough for me to do. But listen, Brent, I want to thank you very much for all the support this evening, buddy. I thank you so very much appreciate you. And guys, look, love each and every one of you guys. Would not do this without you. Get out there and do something cool for somebody because chances are they need it way more than you know. And with that, we'll catch you on the next one. That's a wrap, guys. Adios.